What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another episode of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, joined as always by Robert E. Felice.
Hello.
And Callum Wiggins.
Hello.
And we want to thank all of you for tuning in. We always want to know what you have to say, so drop your thoughts in the comments section below. Make sure that you are hitting up the Discord server. Check out the Facebook, the Twitter, all that good stuff. If you are on YouTube in particular, then make sure that you also hit the like button, that you are subscribed to this channel, ring that little notification bell, click on the join button to get access to the same things as the Patreon, like the Darkcast tier, Big Poison tier, etc., etc. It's all greatly appreciated, as well as picking up merchandise on Redbubble and TeePublic if you want to help us out on those monetary ends. All that stuff goes a long way in helping keep this going, keeping us afloat. And what are we doing today? Well, we are going back to something we had done a few weeks ago that, schedules just sort of dictated that we only got a chance to do it now. But we had previously done another one of our mock draft randomizers for the Royal Rumble, where we picked, 20 people manually and then 30 people randomized. So if you did not check back on that episode, go and check that one out, and you get our reactions to people getting picked on, Callum getting Adam Rose and me getting Pat McAfee and Rico and whatever, and Rob being like, all right, well, what's my first pick? Oh, it's the Red Rooster. So what we are going to do is the follow-up for that we always do here. We have the mock draft roster. So what do we do with the roster? Well, the theory in mind being we have a 30-man Royal Rumble, and then whatever else you decide to book for your card, it could be championship matches, it could be qualifying matches, it could be anything that you really want to do. It all depends on whatever your creative flow ends up being. So we're going to break down what we would have done with those cards. So I want to show everybody what we had. I am pretty sure that I have this up on the screen, right? Yeah, I do. So this was the group of different people that we had going on. For instance, Callum picking Shawn Michaels and Randy Savage, Roman Reigns, etc. Me picking Undertaker, Steve Austin, and Gunther. Rob picking Triple H, Bret Hart, and AJ Styles. So you could see, obviously, on top, we have some major names and a lot of big players that we were all like, okay, I want to make sure that I try to get somebody like this. And then when we get into the randomizer thing, then we got to start to figure out how we can throw Aldo Montoya in there, or somebody like you just have Brian Knobbs, but you don't have the full Nasty Boys. So what do you do? So that is what we're going to do. I'm going to block the screen again for the people on YouTube because I don't want to spoil anything. But between the three of us, we're going to break down our cards and talk about our thought process and all that. And then when we get done explaining what we're going to do, then I'm going to switch over. Then you can see the stuff on the screen. So that way it's a little bit easier, but I don't want to spoil anything ahead of time. That's what we're going to do here. So strap yourselves in. And as far as who gets started, do you guys, anybody want to volunteer? Or do you guys want me to go first?
I'll volunteer. I'll get this show started. And I do want to preface this by saying that in the weeks since I've created this card,
you forget?
my room has flooded, and I've forgotten a lot of things. But I do remember bits and pieces of the thought process there. So here we go. This is my WWE Royal Rumble, and I have at the very top Vince McMahon on commentary because I did get McMahon. I thought about maybe having Duke Droese throw him a garbage can. I thought about maybe making him an authority and putting him on the Grayson Waller effect. But in the end, I just said, okay, if I'm watching this, what's the most tolerable thing without just throwing him in a trash can? Put Vince on commentary.
That way he can spend the Royal Rumble going, he's out, he's eliminated.
My first match is a street fight with Bad News Brown as an enforcer. And Farouk beats Ahmed Johnson. Now, I had originally thought maybe I'd have Farouk and Ahmed start the Rumble, but I shuffled so many pieces around throughout the making of this card that I ended up solidifying, okay, they can have their grudge match, and no referee wants to do it, but Bad News will do it because he doesn't like anybody, and he has no problem letting them beat the shit out of each other.
If you would have put Farouk and Ahmed at the start, would Ahmed have eliminated himself again?
He might have. I did actually think about making that a thing. My next match is an Intercontinental Championship match where AJ Styles will lose the Intercontinental Championship to Rey Mysterio. Rey was somebody who I thought about having go a long way in the Rumble. AJ Styles was somebody I nearly put in a championship match. I thought about, do I have one world champion, more than one world champion? If I'd had more than one, it would have been AJ and possibly Brett in a secondary world championship match, but I decided not to go with that. Then I have a 6-man tag where the Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt, Uncle Howdy, and Luke Harper, will take on and lose to FTRKO, Randy Orton, and FTR. This was another one of those things where I had thought about putting FTR in the tag title match. I thought about putting, Randy going long in the Rumble, maybe even doing something with someone else in there. But ultimately, I was like, let me put them in this match because it will be more of a spotlight for them. And Randy and the Wyatts have always kind of had a good, smooth thing going. And I just thought maybe that'd be a fun way to have them all get involved. And I don't have a stipulation on the match, but you would assume with the parties involved, things would get a little crazy. It'd be more of a tornado style than anything else.
Did you start off with this being like, okay, what do I have 3 members of the Wyatt family, who do I put them against? And then went, all right, I have FTR. Do I do a tag title, whatever? Like, is that how the process went?
I started this going, I have the Wyatts, and I'll have them do a big spot in the Rumble. So I'd mainly like processed a bunch of different ideas for the Rumble match itself, and then tried to work a card backwards. And then once I started to not like the card, I was like, okay, maybe I'll just take the Wyatts out of the Rumble instead of having them do a thing where, they eliminate a bunch of people. I can do that with other people. And Randy just ends up getting, okay, put him opposite the Wyatts because they have good chemistry, and I compare him with FTR instead of putting FTR in the tag match and making that a triple threat tag. Next, I have the Grayson Waller effect with Commissioner Sergeant Slaughter. This would be a segment where Waller's bitching about not being in the Rumble. He's making fun of Slaughter and his chin, and he's fat. And, Slaughter finally goes, all right, you puke. I'll put you in the Rumble, but you're going to be number 1. That's essentially the gist of that. Like I said, I thought about doing maybe Vincent Hogan on the Grayson Waller effect, and they end up in a trash can at the end of it. But I was like, all right, instead of trying to work in too many like weird skits, I'll just do this straight to the point story, and I'll put Hogan somewhere else.
I could see that being a thing too. Have Grayson Waller have to be number 1 and all. I like that idea.
The other idea would have been if I didn't go with, like Hogan and Vince, it would have just been Mr. McMahon, and he's like, oh, you're so great. And it would have been Vince going, nobody likes kiss ass, you're number 1 in the Rumble. Either way, I was going to end up with, and Grayson Waller's number 1 in the Rumble. Then here's an interesting match. Go ahead.
I was going to say, my one kind of point for that is that means that they started the show with only 29 people in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. And I also don't like when they do that, but, you could always say there's alternates or whatever they do.
Mm.
Then here's a fun match. This is a match that I had to think about a little bit because you wouldn't hear too much talk about it today, but if you think about both of these men in like 96, 97, somebody would have wanted to see this match. It's a submission match between Bret Hart and Taz.
Huh.
And it's, Taz wants to prove that he's the ultimate submission wrestler. Bret is, of course, not going to take lightly to someone calling him out. Brett wants to show that he can get hardcore if need be. It's very similar to, the story that you get with WrestleMania 13. And I ultimately put Bret Hart over because obviously he's Bret. And while Taz was great in his day, time has just not been as kind to his legacy versus Bret's. But I think this would be a really fun match. Like, I got really into thinking about why wouldn't this have happened if they could have both been on the same roster? They were big names for their respective companies. And it's something that I got really excited about potentially seeing.
Can't say I would have booked that match, but I would be curious to see it.
Yeah, I like the concept of that one.
Thank you. And then here's a match that I toyed with this being FTR. I toyed with this being 2 out of 3 falls. Ultimately, I decided with a 1 fall tag match, but it's an absolute brawl. It's a tag team championship match. The Bar defends and loses the championships to Bam Bam and Vader.
Bam Bam and Vader as a tag team. How the fuck are you gonna beat them?
I love the Japanese tag matches of Bam Bam and Vader. I think the Bar would have worked really well with their styles, and ultimately, I think putting them over in a tag match would go further than having them be beefy men in the Rumble. Not that that would have been a bad spot for Bam Bam and Vader or Sheamus and Cesaro. This is another one of those, like, damn, they could have all fit so well in the Rumble. And sometimes with the shitty picks you get in the randomizer, you want to just be like, and they are in the Rumble. Fuck it. But nah, I ended up using every name I drafted.
I mean, it's hard to be like, let me figure out a singles match for Paul Roma and be Brian Blair compared to just having them be sacrificial lambs in a Royal Rumble. Yeah,
absolutely. Again, another one of those matches I would have really liked to have seen if this fantasy world could be real. And then my WWE Championship match is a match that absolutely would have been a thing if both guys were healthy and on the same roster at certain times. It's Cactus Jack. I drafted Mick Foley. I'm making him Cactus for this. Defending and defeating Hulk Hogan. And in my mind, this is like 90 Hogan, 95 Cactus. Like really peak both their careers, well, at least for Cactus in this specific character. And I think it would have been a fun match. It's not going to be like, match of the year in the Observer or anything, but like I would have liked to have seen what Hogan and Foley could have done if we're assuming this is an era where Foley gets the respect of being on the world championship level and not just being fed to Hogan as like, a random guy managed by Jimmy Hart.
So Cactus is the heel, Hogan's babyface?
Yeah. I'm going with almost not the total anti-hardcore stuff. It's a little bit of that, like, look at what I give to myself for these people, and they want to watch a guy who's gonna rip off his shirt and send them out of their money while I'm, giving up my ear in Germany, and he can barely stick around until the intermission. It's that kind of visceral, I give my body to this and you're just worried about your money.
Again, I mean, like, I don't know what I would book for either of your cards because I didn't really like look ahead of time and try to figure that out. I could say with pretty solid certainty, I don't think I would have gone in a heel Cactus Jack versus babyface Hogan title match, but I like the idea. So it's like, all right, I love when we can get like totally different concepts.
Yeah, it feels like it could be quite a like a weird kind of Mid-South type of match for Hulk Hogan, but with Hulk Hogan in it, so it's kind of this weird combination of those two, kind of more old school NWA thing, which you'd associate with like a heel Cactus Jack character, then just gussied up a little bit with the Hulkamania rock and wrestling stuff. So I think it could work. It would need to be a lot of melodrama, but yeah, that could work.
Hopefully, good melodrama and not like Dungeon of Doom.
Yeah, like that's because Cactus can fall into that trap, and that's why I'm thinking you have to have a really strong promo Mick Foley, and it's Hogan trying to prove that Hulkamania is the strongest force in the universe, but he can't overcome the weapons and everything Cactus is going to throw against him. Okay, and then we have our 30-man Royal Rumble. Grayson Waller is number 1, and number 2 he's met with Ryback. Waller tries his best, but Ryback makes quick work of the arrogant Australian. Feed me more. You're going to get a lot of this. Feed me more. Number 3 comes out. It's the Red Rooster. He's trying. He's cock-a-doodle-doing. He manages to stay until number 4 comes out. It's Paul Roma. They're trying to get Ryback. Ryback eventually, overpowers them. Maybe a double shell shock. They're both out of here. Number 5 is Duke the Dumpster Drosy, and you can see where we're going here, folks. We're getting the shit out of the way.
Mr. Feed Me More, Big Hungry, takes out a Red Rooster, and then he's like, all right, well, I've got the leftover bones. Put it in a trash can with Duke the Dumpster.
Duke comes out, tries to hit him with the trash can lid. Stupid! Clothesline, throws the trash can at Drosy over the top rope. Then number 6 comes out, and it's Mason Ryan. So he's putting up a little more of a struggle for Ryback. As does...
like proto Ryback.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get number 7, Luther Reigns. He's, now it's turning into a bit more of a match because they're
two bigger
more
guys.
Powerful for Ryback. He can't just throw them all out. Number 8,
three underwhelming meatheads in the ring
yes.
each other.
That's the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately, with the freaking randomizer. Speaking of, number 8 is Brian Knobbs. Number 9, we get Chains. And, at this point, there's a little bit of plunder because you got the trash stuff in the ring, but at this point, it's more of a wild brawl, and everybody's doing that stupid thing where they somehow can't get somebody over the ropes, and they're all just sort of pandering and killing time. Number 10, of course, is the Perfect 10, Ty Dillinger.
Of course.
At this point, we can get rid of a Duke Drosy. We can get rid of Mason Ryan. Number 11 comes out. It's Tucker Knight. He gets in the ring. He's, I'm here. And Ty Dillinger drop kicks him over the ropes. Tucker Knight's out.
Tucky.
He's not coming. And then number 12, we get Diesel. And at this point, Diesel's throwing people out. Ryback's throwing people out. You're getting really like, oh shit, it's about to be a showdown of these two powerful dudes. And they're going back and forth. They're struggling. Let's say, double big boot spot. They both get dazed. Number 13 is Brian Blair. Tries his best to do something with them. Diesel chucks him. And then Ryback goes for meat hook clothesline on Nash. Oh, he's got him down. He goes for the shell shock. Can't get him up. Nash jackknifes him. Out goes Ryback. And it's like, oh my god, what do we do here? And people are Diesel. Number 14 is Victor. He He tries, but Diesel chucks him. And at this point, people are kind of groaning like, oh my God, is this Rumble just going to be Ryback eliminated the first half, then Diesel and it's back half. Number 15, Pyro goes off. It's Kane. And there's a strong back and forth again, but Kane is able to actually get rid of Nash. Now, at this point, you're thinking, okay, is it Kane's turn to dominate? And number 16, you get Terry Funk. Terry Funk comes out. He looks. He sees what he's working with. Goes right back into the backstage area. Comes back out with a branding iron on fire. Blows the fire in Kane's face. Clothesline. Terry Funk has eliminated Kane. And now, from this moment on, it's pretty much going to be a standard Royal Rumble, except number 17, you get Elias. Elias decides to serenade Terry Funk with his rendition of the Eagles' Desperado. Funk doesn't like this. You know, he beats the shit out of Elias. El Kabong guitar shot over the head. And out goes Elias. And everybody's like, yeah, Terry. Number 18, wrestling has more than one royal family. It's Cody Rhodes. From this moment on, you're pretty much getting 19 through 30. It's more of a standard Royal Rumble. Cody and Terry are having a fun little back and forth. There's some tributes to Dusty. I'm sure Terry tells Cody, "Your old man was an egg-sucking dog," and you're getting all that. Your mother's a whore. Like you're getting all that fun stuff. Number 19 is Tenryu, who, because he knows Terry, he goes straight for Terry. Everybody's kind of fighting back and forth. Number 20 is Triple H. He comes in strong, clothesline to Cody. Now we're getting a Rumble. At number 21, we get Jeff Hardy. And he comes in, does some fun spots, maybe plays around Terry Funk a little bit.
Does his little dance before going into the ring.
Of course,
it's a real pressing matter.
Number 22, you got Tony Nese, who's like, he's trying to have a little bit of fun. I'm a premier athlete. I'm so much better than everybody else in this match. He's able to, get some shots in on everybody. At 23, you get Nakamura. And as Nakamura's coming out, pedigree, clothesline, Tony Nese is out of there. Triple H gets an elimination. Number 24 is Jake Roberts. And I do want to say that for a moment, the Wyatt spot that I had would have led to, and Jake Roberts comes out, and he just opens up the bat, out comes the snake, and it would have led to a Bray Wyatt, Jake Roberts WrestleMania program, but I think you can still get there without having to do all that in the Rumble.
I like the idea of them crossing over.
So, match still going on. You've got, Jake Roberts and Terry Funk are fighting. Triple H and Tenryu are going at it. You've got Cody trying his best to get some shots in on everybody. Shinsuke goes for a Kinshasa on Jeff. Jeff manages to, pull the rope down and eliminate Shinsuke. And then number 25, you got Matt Hardy. And now, Matt Hardy and Jeff, they're like, okay, we got to work together. And, they're jumping in on Terry Funk. They're jumping on Cody. Everybody's fighting everybody. It's a pretty solid Rumble. And then you get number 20. Where am I? Number 26, you get Bad News Brown, who's like, yeah, he did his thing earlier in the show, but that was, the Farouk Ahmed thing. Now he wants to make it to WrestleMania. Again, everybody's just fighting. Number 27, you got Bobby Lashley. Now stuff starts to move a little bit. He's demolishing everybody. He throws out bad news, and bad news is kind of pissed. He's got Terry Funk in the Hurt Lock. Funk kicks him in the balls. Hardy Boys, double clothesline. Get rid of Bobby Lashley. Not as quickly. Oh no, I made a mistake there. My bad. I'm looking at the rest of this card. As I said, it's been a long 3 weeks. I've forgotten some spots. 28 comes out, it's Finley. 29 comes out, it's Scott Steiner. Lashley does get those two out because, I'm trying to make him a dominant force. Then you do that spot, Terry Funk low blow, Hardy Boys, double clothesline. Everybody's kind of pissed off. I do that because I almost did another pose down between Lashley and Steiner, but I was like, nah, I did a pose down last time we did the Rumble bit. I'm not going to do that again. Then number 30 is Demon Balor.
Hey, what's wrong with doing the same thing every single time? Big Man Buffet.
I mean, some of us have to try to spread our wings. Number 30 is Demon Balor. I went with Demon Balor because I think that's the most impressive presentation of Finn Balor, especially after the last few years. Again, a solid Rumble. Everybody's kind of, going back and forth. It's basically the final five. Cody's going after Hunter. Hunter manages to get Cody in pedigree position, and Terry Funk clotheslines Triple H over the ropes, and Triple H is pissed at this point. He drags Terry Funk out underneath the bottom rope, beats the crap out of him, bloodies him up. Pedigree throws him back in the ring. Cody, he's not happy about it, but he sees what's happening here, so Cody throws him out over the ropes. And now you're down to Cody, Jeff, and Demon Balor. Everybody, standard final three. Everybody's kind of getting their good spots in. Cody gets, let's say, a Cody cutter onto Jeff. Balor tries to do the too sweet with Cody. Cody goes for it. Balor fakes him out, throws him out over the ropes. And now it's Demon Balor and Jeff Hardy. And at this point, they have like a really flashy final two with they're doing all their spots and it's kind of shaky because you're like, oh my God, Balor's on top rope and Jeff almost pushed him out. But ultimately, it comes down to Jeff Hardy actually getting the win and winning the Royal Rumble. And one of my main events for this hypothetical WrestleMania would have been a hardcore WWE Championship match, Cactus Jack and Jeff Hardy.
I am very surprised that you didn't go with the Hardy Boys in a tag match. And on top of that Jeff Hardy wins the Royal Rumble.
Well, so I will say that the brainstorming for all of this was happening around the time where there was the discourse of Jeff Hardy would have absolutely been bigger than John Cena if he could have kept himself clean. And I was like, you know what? Jeff Hardy winning the Royal Rumble, ironically, before Jey Uso wins the Royal Rumble, I was like, yeah, that's the kind of guy who, is he a mid-card guy? Sometimes, yeah, but he's also insanely over. And I think people would have been down with Jeff Hardy winning a Royal Rumble. And then I was like, you know what? A prime Cactus and a prime Jeff Hardy, because you don't really get hardcore matches for the WWE title at WrestleMania. I think Austin and Rock was no DQ. That was like a last minute ad. Like, imagine this Cactus Jack that I just laid out that's like pissed off with Hogan and Hogan getting the adulation from the fans, kind of doing the whole Jeff, don't do this to yourself for these people. And if you're going to insist on this and also insist on taking food off my table, I'm going to hurt you more than you've ever been hurt in your life. And if you think that you're willing to put your body through insane things for your dreams, imagine what I'll put mine through to stop you from taking mine away. And that would be your wrestling match.
Do you have plans in mind for any of the other people, like Bam Bam and Vader, if they'd have a tag match with anybody at Mania?
Bam Bam and Vader would have ended up fighting FTR, Triple H, Terry Funk, in some kind of like a Texas death scenario. It would have been something between those two, because I think that's a fun match. You know, maybe Cody ends up doing something with Ray for the IC title. Bret Hart and AJ Styles will work together. Yeah, I had bits and pieces worked out.
I'd be down to watch this card. I think the one that I would probably enjoy the most would probably end up being either the Cactus Jack Hogan or maybe the Bar Bam Bam and Vader. I don't know. I mean, the Bret Hart and Taz one would be really good too. I don't know. I'd like it though.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely a fun show. Definitely better than this year's Royal Rumble, I would say. Yeah, the Bret Hart and Taz match is probably the most enticing out of all of them, especially if it is like 97, 98 ECW Taz, rather than the kind of watered down version he came into WWE as. And yeah, Cactus Jack Hulk Hogan is an interesting combination, especially if it ends up with Cactus Jack actually winning that match. Styles against a kind of maybe younger and more together Rey Mysterio would be a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're assuming, because this is the fantasy, we're just
we're
taking these people
peaks
at the possible best times.
Yeah, nobody's gonna be like, I'm gonna book Taz where he can't move, or like Hogan now against somebody.
Right.
I want Ahmed now. I don't think anybody wants Ahmed at any point, really, but still. I like as well doing the whole like Commissioner Slaughter, McMahon on commentary. It's a fun way to like throw some people onto the card without just being like right there in a match.
And now I got to figure out something to do with Vince, you know?
Right.
But thank you. That was my Royal Rumble effort for this year. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
Go switch back over again. Remember, this is everybody. These are the people that we're working with. For anybody that wants to like go on a pause their screen or something and see what's going on. Switch back over to the other graphic. Callum, do you want to go or you want me to go?
I can take it.
Alrighty.
Okay, so at the Royal Rumble once again. And I started off with a pre-show match with people that I could not fit anywhere else on the card. So, bear with me. So it's Rick Boogs and his axe. Which is Rick Boogs and axe.
It sounds like something I would have done.
And they're taking on the Honky Tonk Man and Brutus Beefcake, which is kind of like I couldn't think of like a clever name of putting them together. I probably could have if I had devoted more time to it, like just like
some kind of boogie whatever thing. I don't know.
Well, the Booty Man instead of Brutus Beefcake. I don't know, but
yeah, something like a hairdo wop or Rhythm and Snooze, because he does the sleeper.
Yeah, so essentially they're a heel, like your typical kind of 1980s heel tag team act, which is, you know, they cut a lot of promos, they have pretty standard matches, they always cheat to win, and so they're taking on Boogs and Axe as, like, you know, just, you know, well, a lower card tag teams going up against each other, and then you just have Honky Tonk and Beefcake get the victory because they are the tag team with a higher ceiling attached to them, and they can move forward to potentially get like a tag team title shot down the road. But for now, it's just a case of these are like some gimmicky tag teams. Let's just put them in the pre-show match at the start of the show.
That's funny.
Yeah. We have a 5-man scramble match for the Cruiserweight Championship to kick off the show, just to get, always put some exciting, high-flying guys at the start of the show in order to just get the crowd pumped up and just see some cool flippy stuff. So it's Ricochet, who's the Cruiserweight Champion, defending against Tyson Kidd, Justin Gabriel, Aldo Montoya, and Tyler Breeze.
Be down to watch that.
Yeah, good combination of people. Some people that do very much do a lot of the high-flying stuff, but other ones that are a bit more technically grounded, like Kidd and Breeze, are a bit more just, smaller wrestlers that will just put people into submissions and use suplexes and kicks rather than like be diving off the top rope constantly, but they can still hold their own there as well. Then you just have all those guys be there for a while. I'd say like a scramble match. So I might actually attach like the old school championship scramble thing to it, where it's got 15 minutes and people come out at intervals, maybe similar to like the Iron Survivor challenges as well, but without the penalty box. Just, your old school scramble match. And Ricochet could be starting, so he has to pretty much run the gauntlet, go all the way through, but he ends up retaining his championship. And surviving that one, and then later on, find out at some point at WrestleMania who he'd end up facing. Because to be fair, I didn't have a huge amount of quote-unquote cruiserweights in my team. I was desperately trying to see whether Quang was a cruiserweight, but he's not. So it'll probably end up being one of those 5 again, because pretty much all the cruiserweights that I had on the entire show, outside of maybe 1 or 2, were in that match. So
maybe Quang is.
Tag Team Championship match: Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, Street Profits, are defending champions against Chris Masters and Mark Jindrak.
That makes sense.
Essentially, both their gimmicks were pretty much the same, which are, we have like great bodies, we're really look like we're sculpted out of marble, so they're just coming out as they're the masterpieces essentially. And you get masterpiece and the reflection of perfection, and then you just have them teaming up together. It just seems to make a lot of sense. They're not like your top level tag team in terms of just in-ring performance, but the gimmick works well, and they can just throw guys around for the most part. So you have them beating up on Dawkins for the majority of the match until you get the Montez Ford hot tag, and he takes over and evens the odds, and then eventually the more well-oiled, well, to be fair, the Masters and Jindrak are probably the most oiled tag team, potentially of history, if you were to put them together, but the better tag team of Ford and Dawkins managed to get the victory, and so they retain the championships and move forward, heading towards WrestleMania season. European Championship match should be United States, but I've decided to take on the Tony Mantle thing of if somebody wins the United States title, they can adjust it to be from their nation instead.
The national championship. Good.
Exactly. So William Regal had won the United States Championship, but has rechristened it the European Championship, because why not? And so he's defending that against Drew McIntyre, who is a babyface, but he's still European, so he's doing that as well. And it's William Regal, Drew McIntyre, old school, hard hitting, very British centric match. And then you have William Regal tries to go for the brass knucks. McIntyre is able to essentially I'd almost do a fun spot where he actually claymores the knucks out of Regal's hand. Regal's going for it, and he just kicks the knucks out of his hand, and Regal's kind of just shaking his hand because his hand's now just completely out of commission, and McIntyre then bounces off the ropes, hits another claymore to the face, and Regal goes down, and McIntyre is your new European champion.
I dig it.
Yeah, just a fun match between those two. Intercontinental Championship match, triple threat match. So, bit of background for this one is that I do have... Well, actually, I should have mentioned it as well because of so certain people in the matches that I've had so far. Again, I probably remember this if it was close to the time, but again, it has been a few weeks. I developed a stable around Mr. Perfect because I feel like that's the sort of guy that would have a big stable around him. And that stable is him. It's Masters and Jindrak.
Makes sense.
Tyler Breeze.
Yeah.
Just like a Prince Pretty type. Damien Sandow. Like the intelligentsia side of it. And then Jerry Sags. And
wait, you gotta explain that one.
Well, Jerry Sags is
like Prince Pretty. It's like, oh, he's like the perfect looking, and then you get like the perfect like sculpted guys and the perfectly smart. And Sags.
You know how Eugene used to be part of Evolution for like a really short period of time.
Oh, that's right. So he's the perfect patsy.
Exactly. He's like a guy who wants to be part of that group, and Mr. Perfect thinks they can use that to their advantage of having him. He essentially is there to pick up their coffee and do all the run around, do all the errand stuff, but gets to be quote unquote part of the group. So it's just been that's kind of like a way of utilizing Jerry Sags to just be okay. He's the patsy, he's the putz of the group that's there to do all the jobs that they don't want to do.
I like that idea.
But so I say that as part of it because the Championship match includes Damien Sandow, but he is one of the challengers alongside Alistair Black against Rob Van Dam for the Intercontinental title. Again, just would be three fun guys to go up against each other. I think Black and Van Dam would have really good chemistry with each other based on what I've seen before, with just like a lot of like you could do one of those cool, I don't know, Matrix style spots where you've got them just throwing kicks against each other a lot, and then maybe Sandow takes advantage of that by just throwing one into the other, and then just dominating for a little while one of them is recovering on the outside. He just takes over and jaw jacks the crowd and does his usual shtick and routine. Eventually, it all comes together with RVD retains the championship, probably by pinning Alistair Black, so you might be able to do a Sandow match, either WrestleMania or at least further down the road on a one-on-one level instead. Or maybe that's where you put Perfect in the future as well, because Sandow couldn't get the job done, so maybe Mr. Perfect has to be there to do it instead. But yeah, it's a good way of just having three talented guys have a fun match for the title.
I'd be down for that 100%.
And then your WWE Championship match, I have a heel Randy Savage against babyface Michaels.
I mean, you put those two against each other in any kind of dynamic, I'm down for it. But what's the thought process behind the heel and face dynamic?
So I'd say we could have gone back and forth, but I thought that when I typically have Randy Savage in my roster, I typically do go the babyface route because he was a great babyface. But I think that heel, maniacal, late stage Intercontinental Champion, Macho King gimmick is can be a lot more entertaining, or can have a lot more meat on the bones to it. And I think that Shawn Michaels, like the later stage Shawn Michaels, which is just like your very much traditional babyface, or 96 Shawn Michaels, if you want to go down that route as well, is it's a bit more one-dimensional than the ex-Shawn Michaels, but I think that he makes it work in a really good way, as proven over the years. And as I said, they would have a great match. The reason why I put Shawn Michaels in this and rather than put Shawn Michaels in the Rumble is that, and no, I'm in the minority when it comes to this as well, but I think Shawn Michaels is a tier below main event, and kind of always was. So I thought that, okay, he's the guy that you put out for your Royal Rumble Championship match, in the same way that Owens is the guy that they always put out for your WWE Championship match these days, or World Championship match. Like, yeah, he's never ever going to, in my universe or my roster, he's never ever going to main event WrestleMania, or maybe like once out of his entire career, but he's going to be, but he puts on so many good matches that he's always going to be in your in and around the main event, in a featured spot, and like multi-time, like Intercontinental Champion, all of that stuff as well. And this is an opportunity to try and beat Randy Savage and become champion, but Randy Savage just proves to be too wily at this point in time, and you can always revisit it at a later date. But I think that it's like it'd be an excellent match between these two, and it feels like the right sort of venue to do your WWE Championship match here. So yeah, Randy Savage beats Shawn Michaels, retains his championship. And that's the end of the non-Royal Rumble portion of this Royal Rumble. So then we get into the actual 30-man match, and we start with number 1 is Roman Reigns, just to get some star power straight away, and he's joined by number 2 Seth Rollins. And so they go at it for a while because they've got a lot of history, obviously, between each other, and they just battle it out in the way that they would do. They're not like current day super animosity towards each other and with the hatred based on the history. They still have their history from the time of the Shield, and then the Shield is no longer a thing in my universe, but they have been in the past. But so they're more of a competitive group. They're both baby faces. They're just in that kind of sphere right now. And same with this guy, because number 3 is Dean Ambrose.
Start off with all 3 Shield. I like that.
Yep. They all come out and they all start just, fighting among each other and doing some of their cool spots with each other, trying to hit either spears and stomps and DDTs to try and take advantage of each other. But they end up with like this triple down clothesline spot, and they're all just kind of recovering. And then number 4 is Blue Meanie, who starts just like, when they're all just recovering, he's just like beating on them a little bit, like he just like attacks them slightly, like some weak clubbing forearms, and then he goes to dance into the center of the ring, and then all 3 members of the former Shield look at each other and just go, oh fuck this, and just beat the shit out of Blue Meanie and chuck him out the ring.
Well
and then
deserved.
they decide, and they decide, we could just continue fighting each other like this, or we could just stand here, wait for everyone else to come one by one, and just eliminate them and just be the final 3, and then go back to what we're doing. And so they form this cordial alliance, and they just stand there waiting for the next person to turn up, who's Quang. And Quang just runs down because he's stupid. And he just doesn't consider it for a second that he's in a bad situation. And then they all beat the shit out of him. Roman Reigns was the one that eliminated Blue Meanie. They let Dean Ambrose eliminate Quang here. So
you tell me that Quang doesn't eliminate all 3?
No. Next one up is Mabel. So obviously a bit more of a big guy, and so he thinks that he can take on all 3 of them at the same time. And he puts on a little bit of offense, but eventually the Shield overpower him, and then all 3 of them are able to throw him over the top rope at once. And then number 7 is Heath Slater, who is a bit more intelligent and realises, oh, I'm plugged, but I guess I've got nothing else to do. So he just, does the little cross over his chest to say, God help me with this one, runs in, gets his ass kicked, and Seth Rollins eliminates him. So then you just think, okay, the Shield are just going to run through everybody at this rate. So number 8 is John Cena.
Okay, now it switches up.
Yeah, so now the crowd gets a little bit more excited because John Cena comes out there, and the Shield are still going to have the numbers advantage, but Cena, obviously Super Cena, so he's going to fight through everything. He doesn't eliminate anybody, but he's managing to hold his own against the 3 of them. The 3 of them then start to pound it in a bit, and it feels like, oh my god, that's a bit of inevitability. Number 9 is CM Punk. CM Punk comes down and he helps even the odds as well, and he starts taking on the Shield as well. And obviously him and Cena aren't friends, but he sees the opportunity to try and even the odds a little bit. And then the same with the guy, because number 10 is Edge. Then okay, now we've got some real star power in this Rumble, and then you basically have this 3-on-3 divide where it's a bit of like the Shield group of the more modern generation against 3 guys from the more typified the ruthless aggression era, siding up against each other. And Edge is still heel. Edge is heel in my universe, and the other 2 are baby faces. But they decide, okay, we're kind of of the same era, the same epoch, and these are the young guys that we have to deal with. And so they start pairing off with each other. So now the ring's starting to crowd out a little bit, because now they've got the guys to help deal with the Shield. Number 11 is Titus O'Neil, who falls under the ring. As he's, I would have it so they've prepared it in time where he slides, goes out one side of the ring into the other side of the ring, so there's nothing under the ring to impede his movement. He just appears at the other side, and so he enters it. Almost like he treats it almost like, oh my god, that was like the smartest move, because now that I can attack them from behind because I've gone through the one side of the ring to the other. And then he just gets in. He doesn't get eliminated straight away. He just gets involved. And now the ring's starting to clear up to fill up a bit. 13, Bill Buchanan adds to the mess of people that are in there. Oh, sorry, 12, Jimmy Snuka. Then 13, Bill Buchanan, adding to the crowd of people that are in there. 14, Adam Rose, and he comes out with the rosebuds around him as well. So get that little bit of moment. Number 15, Mr. Perfect. He comes out and he's one of the front runners for the Rumble, as well as like a lot of the guys that are in the ring right now. He comes out, he eliminates Titus O'Neil pretty quickly early on, but and it continues to crowd out a little bit more. Eddie Guerrero comes out at number 16, again another not like a front runner, a bit more of a dark horse, but still crowd favourite, so he comes out. Then 17, Bron Breakker. So again, one of these young dominant Jack guys comes out. Immediately eliminates Adam Rose, Bull Buchanan, and Jimmy Snuka. So immediately trying to establish that Bron Breakker's a force to be reckoned with for the future. Like, he's at this point in time in my roster, he's not been a champion at any stage, but he's seen as like this blue chip prospect. So he gets his shine to eliminate some people to say, okay, this guy's someone worth paying attention to moving forward. 18, Jerry Sags. He comes out and he's there to kind of help out Mr. Perfect and just defend him a little bit and take a few shots. Like, it could be a case of like he's blocking Mr. Perfect in the corner and other people are attacking him, but it's just he's just being a meat shield for Perfect. 19, Koko B. Ware comes out, tries to be a bit of a house of fire, but eventually he's eliminated pretty quickly on by Perfect and Jerry Sags working together. Then we do like a double clothesline spot. Or actually a spot where Jerry Sags like holds Koko against the ropes and Perfect hits the clothesline and eliminates him, and so that kind of combination works. 20, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. So I wanted him to be number 20 because there were 20 people in the original Royal Rumble. So he comes out at number 20. And essentially he does the same thing as Koko B. Ware, but instead when they try and do the same spot with Mr. Perfect holding Jim Duggan against the ropes for Jerry Sags to hit clothesline, Duggan pulls Mr. Perfect out of the way, and then Sags goes into Perfect instead and eliminates him from the Royal Rumble. So Sags has, done a goof and he's eliminated his own guy instead. So yeah, Perfect
screw up.
Yeah. So Perfect, one of the front runners, is out there. 21, Kurt Angle comes in, suplexes everybody that is breathing in his general direction, eliminates Jerry Sags pretty quickly as well, so Sags is out as well. And then you got 22, Jack Swagger, so him and Angle can do a bit of stuff together, like trade ankle locks and do a few other spots while everyone else is battling around the ring. 23, you get Maven. At this point, Edge eliminates Jim Duggan at some point because, Edge is still a heel and a bastard in this universe, so he just eliminates a fan favourite in Duggan. 24, Karma.
Oh, that's right, you got Karma, I forgot.
Yeah, so Karma comes out and no one's really expecting or knows really what to do with it to deal with that situation, and Karma just is able to throw people around a bit. Probably do like a spot where Karma is just dominate everyone, and then she does get hit with the same sort of stuff that Nia Jax got hit with, where it's like maybe gets hit with an angle slam, maybe gets hit with an edge spear at some point. And then I have Roman Reigns eliminating Karma pretty soon after Umaga appears at number 25. So again, getting some big guys coming out now in Umaga. You have then Big Cass, so we've gone from like a kind of big rotund guy in Umaga to a big tall guy in Big Cass coming out, so just adding more height and volume to the Rumble. At this point, Simple eliminates Jack Swagger to just add his own name to the list of eliminations and to make sure the group of people doesn't get too overcrowded. Just need to keep a steady number of people getting eliminated. Because then the biggest guy in my Rumble comes out, Andre the Giant at number 27. And as you would expect, he quickly dispatches of Umaga, outpowers him, Big Cass. And then you do the spot where Maven tries to drop kick him over the top rope. Doesn't manage to do it, and then Andre eliminates him pretty quickly. Then 28, Batista comes out, and then you have like, okay, this guy can stand toe to toe with Andre, and you just have almost like try and treat him like, a more palatable version of the Ultimate Warrior, dealing with Andre instead. And so he's managing to battle him out instead. That they sort of fight each other close towards the ropes. You have Dominic Mysterio comes out at number 29. So obviously the crowd absolutely hates him, total heat magnets, really annoyed that he's like one of the entrants. You have Batista and Braun Breaker at this point eliminate Andre the Giant together, like showing a bit of like respect between each other. Maybe that's the formation of or at least the embers of a potential tag team between Batista and Braun Breaker. Is like this young guy, and Batista is more of a veteran at this point, potentially could show him the ropes.
Spear Bros.
Then you have Logan Paul at number 30, so even more of a heat magnet than Dominic Mysterio. So the last two are proper, like, oh my god, these two got the final two picks in the Rumble. And then you have a spot where Batista and Braun Breaker are trying to eliminate each other and trying to, out for each other near the ropes. Logan Paul manages to tip both of them over at the same time, eliminates both. So, again, gets to show off to the crowd. And then we're down to the final people. So the final people at this point now, the entrants are out. We've got Logan Paul, got Dominic Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Edge, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, Angle, John Cena. So there's still a decent number of people, and they're all fairly big names. Of course, you do Dominic Mysterio eliminates Eddie Guerrero. That sets up a match for WrestleMania, as you would do if you had the opportunity to do so. Then when Edge kind of looks around, he sees Logan and Dominic Mysterio, and he kind of sees, okay, I can work with these two guys. Like now this is the opportunity where I need to start forming alliances in order to make sure I'm one of the last people standing. So he kind of sees these two as like, okay, I almost like would form a faction off the back of this Rumble performance between Edge, Logan Paul, and Dominic Mysterio. As like the most detestable heel group you could put together. And then they all combine together and they eliminate CM Punk. So Punk's out, and that could lead to a future match between Edge and CM Punk, potentially at the Royal Rumble. But then I do this thing where you start getting Edge, Logan Paul, and Dominic Mysterio, and then the Shield guys all square up to each other. So it's those six, and then there's Cena and Kurt Angle, the last 8 guys left in the Rumble, and so they all go up against each other, and it just leads to like a cacophony of elimination. Seth Rollins eliminates Dominic Mysterio, but then Logan Paul eliminates Seth Rollins, then Dean Ambrose is able to eliminate Logan Paul, and Edge eliminates Dean Ambrose. So it all kind of happens in pretty quick succession to each other. So that leaves the final 4 of Edge, John Cena, Kurt Angle, and Roman Reigns.
Good group.
Then they just go up against each other, like Roman pairs off with Edge, Cena pairs off with Kurt Angle. They all intermingle each other. It's like this proper Final 4 where they're all doing spots with each other and they're hitting their big moves. John Cena eventually eliminates Kurt Angle, like clotheslines him up the top rope, just when it looks like Angle might be able to get the advantage of this. And then you have Roman Reigns, like Edge hits a spear on John Cena, goes for the spear on Roman Reigns, Reigns avoids that, hits a spear on Edge, and then throws him over the top rope. And so you're left with John Cena and Roman Reigns, your final 2.
Who's going to fight a heel Randy Savage?
Yeah, exactly. And they're 2 baby faces at this point, so either one of them is just as likely, and they're both like top level guys. So go with the back and forth. Good like final 2 energy. It doesn't have to go like 10 minutes, but it's a solid like 5 minutes back and forth between these two with a few near full spots. Roman hits a spear on Cena, looks like he's got the victory, but just as he gets him close to the rope, Cena's able to get underneath Roman Reigns, him over the top rope. John Cena wins the Royal Rumble. He'll challenge Randy Savage for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. And then also you set up other things where you could do potentially like a Shield reunion, 6-man tag against Edge and his crew at some point, or you can just do Edge and CM Punk because of CM Punk getting eliminated by all those guys. You could set up like other things off the back of that, Dominic Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, a future one, maybe Batista and Braun Breaker tag team against Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins for the tag titles at WrestleMania. Obviously, Jerry Sags is in a lot of trouble now with the Mr. Perfect crew, so
that's the real story to track.
I don't think I'd necessarily do Sags versus Mr. Perfect WrestleMania, but you could see to fuel that story. I'd probably have Perfect go after RVD in the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. But I wanted to make sure there was a few things that were set in motion. But yeah, I think John Cena versus Randy Savage, feels like a big time WrestleMania match.
That would absolutely be. I like this a lot.
Yeah, that was a really well thought out card. I didn't realize how many. Like, you don't really have a lot of people that you would have normally had. That's pretty cool how you were able to work with so many people. But I really liked your Rumble. I would have enjoyed watching that a lot.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to make sure that, even though I've done things in the past, like the last Royal Rumble I did, I started with the whole Brock Lesnar thing, where I think I had Goldberg from like really early on in the Rumble and just a load of mid-carders, and did the same sort of thing that Rob did, where it's just like one guy in the ring and just throwing people out. So I wanted this time to make sure that there was going to be like star power from start to finish in the Rumble. I thought having the three Shield guys to be the kind of anchors of the entire match would be the possibility of doing that. So I made sure that like Roman Reigns would be the Iron Man of the match, but Seth and Dean would be there for the vast majority of it. Get Cena, Punk, and Edge in pretty early as well. So hopefully, with that level of star power in the match, you would counteract the fact that obviously there's you have to deal with the collection of mid-carders that we all had to deal with based on the rosters that we drafted. So hopefully that kind of counteracts it, prevents what I thought was like an issue with the men's Royal Rumble this year, which was just too much mid-card for the first half of the Rumble.
Yeah, you get a good start with the Shield to where like people are riding that high for a while. And it's good to switch it up a little bit too with like Quang being like a really quick elimination, and then you got Mabel where it's like, oh, are they gonna struggle with that? And then like Cena, okay, makes sense that Cena puts up a fight, and then Punk and Edge. Now you've got the three. Like, that's a good reset kind of scenario. So you have shortest time is Quang, Iron Man's Roman Reigns. Most eliminations go to those three: Reigns, Breaker, and Logan Paul tied. It's funny, how we all booked these before this year's Royal Rumble, and yet there's still some parallels going on. Like, you got Logan Paul at number 30, you've got Dom coming out after a series of big names. So it was like Cena, Punk, and Rollins, and then Dom, and you've got Andre, Batista, Big Cass, Umaga, and then Dom.
Yeah, I'd say like I didn't. Obviously, I did this far before this year's Royal Rumble, so I didn't know what to expect there. I didn't even know Logan Paul was good. I assumed Logan Paul was going to be in it, but I didn't know what he was going to do, and definitely not that he was going to be number 30. But I thought, okay, I'm definitely putting Logan and Dominic towards the end of the Rumble, because it's just like, it's like you've got the people in there, so the crowd shouldn't be too like frustrated or angry, but they should be a little bit like, oh god, we don't want these guys to win, they suck. That kind of mentality going into it. So once they do get eliminated, you get a bit more of like that. Yes, right, thank Christ they're not going to win the Rumble. So, but I didn't initially go into it thinking, I should try and form a group between Edge, Mysterio, and Logan Paul. I think as time went on, I just went, with Edge's rated R persona, that would really make sense if that was a group.
Big old thumbs up from me.
Yeah, I liked it a lot, I would say. John Cena winning your Royal Rumble was something I was expecting from the real Royal Rumble. And I think yours played out better than the real one will.
Alrighty, so then my turn around here. Same as what you guys had saying, I forget most of this. I have some notes written down on there, so I'm gonna have to read them as we go along here. I started out with a free-for-all, basically a pre-show, but I always liked the free-for-all name. So it's a free-for-all for the remaining Royal Rumble spot, which is funny because we were talking about earlier about like them starting out with 29 men in Rob's by like, the sheer logic behind that. I'm actually definitively starting off with, we only have 29 men and 6 people are on the low end of things. So, hey, you have to fight a match on the show to get into the Royal Rumble just to prove you're worthy. So those are the people that I had nothing that I really felt like doing with. Those are Carlos Colon, Darren Young, Jimmy Del Rey, Mo, Repo Man, and Rico. And I got Darren Young going in as like the sentimental favorite, where people just assume he's the highest ranked of them all, like on the hierarchy. So of course he's going to win and he's going to get some kind of a spot. But Repo Man steals the pin from him. We're starting O'Reilly with this stupid shit.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
I think steals the pin. I'm sorry, like
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
Now, since that's a match that's like a bunch of jobbers, essentially, I'm going to start off the actual card with the WWE Championship match. I'm going to bookend this whole thing with like title match, Royal Rumble last. And that is Gunther, as a heel, of course, walking in as the champion, defending against babyface Undertaker. Not what I had envisioned when I was drafting people, because I was like, all right, Undertaker, always a perpetual Royal Rumble person. Gunther could win the Royal Rumble, whatever it might be. But I ended up coming around to this idea of, I always liked when Undertaker was like challenger around Royal Rumble time with like Yokozuna and everything. So taking Taker out of the Royal Rumble allows for somebody else to win. Whereas if Taker's in the Rumble, then I immediately have to start thinking who eliminates him to set up something for Mania and in a realistic way. And when I looked at a lot of the people that I had drafted, I drafted a lot of people that I wouldn't see making sense in that role. There were a few names like Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar and some other people like that I was just like, okay, well, they could, but like, I'm not going to have, No Way Jose up against Undertaker in the Royal Rumble. So Taker goes in as challenger. He fails to win the WWE Championship over Gunther. So we know somebody is going to win the Royal Rumble to challenge Gunther. We have a 4-way for the Cruiserweight Championship, a little bit kind of like what Callum had going on. So he had 5 people in his. But I've got Super Crazy, Paul London, Scotty 2 Hottie, and the champion Neville. And the champion Neville retains. He is the biggest name out of those. He is the most accomplished, so it makes sense. It just means to switch it up a little bit from Undertaker and Gunther have a completely different style match, of course, than what this Cruiserweight 4-way would be. Bunch of flippy stuff. Neville gets an impressive victory. And I don't have any of them down as necessarily like heels and faces. Scotty 2 Hottie, of course, would be a baby face. I would assume probably in this scenario that Super Crazy would be as well. And I think more than likely Paul London would be a little bit more of like a potential heel, if you want to kind of balance that out a little bit, but doesn't necessarily have to be that way. More than anything, I'm just down with the idea about seeing these guys all flip around and do that kind of shtick.
Yeah. Then could see a worm at some point. That's always fun.
Yeah, maybe a good spot with like the worm leading into some kind of like a weird flippy kind of scenario.
I'd want to do something where he goes for the worm on Neville, and then Neville just not so much no sells it, but just waits for the arm to come down, and just locks him in the brutalizer immediately.
Yeah. Then we have a grudge match that is, I don't know if I'd go like some kind of hardcore brawl side of things, but most likely something in that regard. It's Karrion Kross accompanied by Damian Demento. I think he's a perfect patsy to be like in like a Final Testament kind of a group. So Karrion Kross is a heel, of course, and he's going up against babyface Mankind, the like troubled, you're not necessarily supposed to like him, but everybody likes him type of Mankind from like 98 or so. Not quite like that Mick Foley, flannel smiley face Foley era, but like, okay, we're behind this psycho Mankind kind of a character, which makes it all that much worse when Karrion Kross beats him, because Mankind was really good at playing that kind of role where like you get behind him and he gets beaten up and then you're like, that bastard beat Mankind. tag team title match is next. And that is the Hart Foundation, Owen Hart and British Bulldog against El Generic KO of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
Good.
El Generic. Did you really just feel like you needed to do that?
Yes, I felt like I needed to.
Okay.
I always try to give the tag teams names, even if I am like, all right, it could be any of these. I have a couple group names coming up later on. But El Generic KO.
Yeah. Well, Kevin Owens would love to have the match against Owen Hart, so that obviously is a good way of doing it. And yeah, that'd be a great tag team title match.
And it's also kind of a good way to like balance things out a little bit, because like Bulldog and Owens are the two bigger ones. Owen and Zayn are the two leaner ones. But then you got Owen and Owens, and then you got, a super babyface side of things with like whatever Kevin Owens is with Sami Zayn. They play off each other really well. So if you wanted them to go in as baby faces, then they would be very much baby faces against Owen and British Bulldog. And the promos between Owen and them I think would be fantastic. And this was almost one of those things where I was like, crap, is this too good to do for the Royal Rumble? Should I just put that for Mania? And I thought about it, but I ended up switching a whole lot of things around. So Owen and Bulldog go in as champions. They retain their titles. I don't know why I didn't put them in bold and all, but I should do that and fix my little card up so I don't forget about that in the future. And then we have, bringing this back just what we were talking about earlier, the national championship. It's the United States Championship because it's between Diamond Dallas Page and Ludwig Kaiser. It's not the United States title heading into because Ludwig Kaiser is the champion. So he is holding the either European Championship or the, whatever they want to classify it as. But Kaiser loses the title to Diamond Dallas Page. So leaving the Royal Rumble, it is back to the United States Championship. Between the two, I mean, it's not a match I would have normally booked, but DDP against Ludwig Kaiser, I think it could be a lot of fun. One of those sleeper, really just like, oh shit, okay, I'm down for that, I
think that'd be really fun depending on like what era DDP we're talking here.
Thinking like that, like 96 or so type of 97, like whatever like that peak popularity was, where he was like hitting the diamond cutter out of nowhere, and Ludwig Kaiser probably around like now era where he's like more confident. Still think Ludwig Kaiser would be a great United States champion, like at any moment too. But obviously, different roster.
Yeah, I really like that match. I think DDP was underrated in the fact that he pretty much had great matches with most people. So I think, Ludwig Kaiser's a great wrestler as well. So I don't see how that could potentially be a bad match.
So I then have my Royal Rumble. And I thought I had a note down about this, but I don't remember why this is the case. But for some reason, I have Ted DiBiase at number 1. And I don't remember what that was, because I think it had something to do with the Repo Man. And I tried to do that gimmick thing again. Oh, wait, no. I remember what it was now. Because I was going to do that, and then I didn't. So Ted DiBiase buys his way into the Royal Rumble, but he was told that he needed to buy just a random number. Like, okay, you can purchase a Royal Rumble number, but that doesn't mean you're getting number 30. You have a 1 in 30 chance, just like everybody else does. And he's all like, well, I got enough money that I could do, of course I always win because I'm rich, And it's like, okay, well, you got number 1. Well, technically, you bought an entry into the Royal Rumble. You didn't buy a specific number, so he's pissed. Number 2 is Tatanka, and Ted DiBiase eliminates Tatanka because, okay, well, Tatanka's not going to have a really good run here, but let's start off with the idea about, crap, okay, Ted DiBiase is going to somehow win the whole thing, and it's going to be a whole thing or whatever like that. But number 3 is Kofi Kingston. And already that plan goes to shit. Ted DiBiase and Kofi Kingston, he's not going to just eliminate Kofi. Chris Jericho then comes out at number 4. Daniel Bryan then comes out at number 5. And this group of 4 already is like, people that could potentially win. But Ted DiBiase's taken out by Daniel Bryan already. And that's the shit that happens when you're number 1. So he's pissed about that. Goes, throwing a tantrum on the way out. But in the meantime, we got Kofi, Jericho, and Bryan all fighting in the ring. So people are like, all right, well, go have your little tantrum elsewhere. Put out The Miz at number 6. Put out Jey Uso at number 7. Of course, this was before he won the Royal Rumble. So he's just a mid-card name in here. Dusty Rhodes, number 8. Andrade, number 9. And we're getting a really filled up ring now. You got Kofi, Jericho, Bryan, Miz, Uso, Dusty Rhodes, Andrade. That's a lot. So you got to get somebody to come out there and reset a little bit. And that's Yokozuna at number 10. He takes out Dusty Rhodes. And number 11 is Jerry the King Lawler, who goes, oh shit, I'm not getting in the ring with Yokozuna. I am going to just sort of like stand back and, I'm not going to... I'm not going to make a play yet until I actually see what's happening. Around this time, Kofi Kingston almost gets eliminated from Jerry Lawler trying to pull him down and do some kind of like dastardly thing like that, but Kofi saves himself. Damian Priest comes out at number 12, and he throws Jerry Lawler into the ring and throws Jerry the King Lawler out. You're not going to get away with that. Whole like sit around until number 30 shtick. Priest tosses him. Big man Damian Priest goes on a little bit of a tear, gets a little bit stopped from Yokozuna, and we have that like stare down thing in the ring with those two, and then Sid Justice comes out. So now we're getting the big beefy side of this is starting to like look a little dominant, while everybody like Jericho and Bryan and Miz and all are like hanging around the outside, spent from all these big dudes. Kofi gets tossed out by Sid. Jey Uso gets tossed out by Sid. It's starting to look like Sid is going to be a dominant force in this. Teddy Dykstra comes out. He is, not going to be as big of a threat when it comes to those guys. And he's kind of doing I forget who does it in which wearable it is. But somebody like one of those like heels, everybody's down and they just walk around and they kind of like kick somebody one time and they act like they did a whole lot. Do you guys remember who that was?
No.
I forget who did it in like what Rumble or whatever, but somebody did that. And it's a little bit similar to what we actually got this year when everybody, Chelsea Green and whatnot, were like, I'm going to pretend to throw all the people out and then celebrate in the ring, but none of them actually get eliminated. Like Dykstra is sort of like, all right, I'm gonna stomp on Yoko when he's down, and I'm gonna stomp on Priest when he's down, and Sid when he's down, and act like, hell yeah, man, like I did this or whatever. And then he shits himself because number 15 is Stone Cold Steve Austin. So as soon as the glass breaks, he knows that he's done for. So Dykstra gets eliminated by Stone Cold. The Miz tries to run it. Stone Cold, he gets eliminated. Keith Lee comes out, and we got another big man thrown into the mix. And Sid gets eliminated by a team of Stone Cold and Keith Lee, because Stone Cold's been working on Sid. Keith Lee's the difference factor of being like, okay, you need another big man to help you. I'll do it. The Rock comes out at number 17, so we get our little stare down of The Rock and Austin and all, but The Rock comes in with like a fury, takes out Andrade and Damian Priest, and then a big group of people team up on Yokozuna, like Keith Lee and Stone Cold and Jericho and Bryan and all, and it's The Rock who is the last person to push Yoko over the edge, and that's one of those like, okay, you turned on your family there. There might be something going on that front. Wade Barrett out at number 18. Since we're losing some of the big men now, we're going to try to get some of those guys in that can all, realistically work together. Like if you see Barrett and Jericho fighting with each other, you don't think necessarily, okay, one of them's definitely going out. Throw in Austin Theory at number 19, Greg the Hammer Valentine at number 20. But again, we got a lot of people in the ring. So number 21 is Brock Lesnar. He takes out Keith Lee. He takes out Greg the Hammer Valentine. He takes out Austin Theory. Number 22 is Pat McAfee, and he gets immediately taken out by Brock Lesnar. Number 23 is Bob Holly, and he is eliminated by Brock Lesnar. Number 24.
I had an idea of what you could have done with.
I don't have Shawn Michaels. But Bob Holly, at one point, I did have a very tentative idea about Bob Holly starting the Royal Rumble off and doing like eliminates 3 or 4 people. And then I goes, oh my God, is he actually going to beat everybody? And then he doesn't. But I was like, nah, it's not worth it for the joke.
Well, you would have to give him the belt.
Right, yeah. And then he would have had to beat that person at WrestleMania too. And then I'm kind of ham-fisted there. So Lesnar has taken out Keith Lee, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Austin Theory, McAfee in and out, Holly in and out. And it's like, oh my God, is there anybody that can stop Brock Lesnar? And then No Way Jose comes out and is eliminated by Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
It's no way Jose. I mean, come on. He's not going to beat Brock Lesnar. So finally, Samoa Joe comes out at number 25. And that's the roadblock there. We start to get throughout the rest of this. Now it's a little bit more of an even keel scenario. Wade Barrett gets eliminated by Daniel Bryan. Jinder Mahal comes out. Number 27 comes out, and it's Repo Man because he had won that thing earlier. But as soon as he's making his entrance, Ted DiBiase shows up and he goes, hey, I'll buy that spot from you. It's lucky number 27. What's the Repo Man ultimately do? He takes things away from you, but the way that you get it back is because you pay for it. So Ted DiBiase re-enters the Royal Rumble at number 27. Right after Daniel Bryan had eliminated Wade Barrett and all. So Bryan had been the one that had eliminated DiBiase, and Bryan gets immediately attacked by DiBiase because he's just like, listen, motherfucker, you can't beat money. You know what I mean? And Kurt Hawkins comes out next. Jinder Mahal is eliminated. Roddy Piper comes out at number 29. He takes out Kurt Hawkins, who doesn't really need to last long at all. And as Daniel Bryan and Ted DiBiase are going at it, Ted DiBiase gets eliminated by Stone Cold because he's so obsessed with the Daniel Bryan side of it that he completely doesn't realize Stone Cold's right behind him, doing the kind of thing where it's like he's like ready for a clothesline, and he knows that when Ted turns around, he's fucked, and gives him the finger from behind when he's not realizing it. Stone Cold takes him over the edge. And number 30, it's hard to beat a big man in that spot, so it's Big Show. So still left in the ring at this point are still a lot of people. It's Daniel Bryan, Chris Jericho, Steve Austin, The Rock, Brock Lesnar, Samoa Joe, Roddy Piper, and Big Show.
Yeah, it's a hell of a group.
And you look at them and you're like, any of them realistically could fight Gunther? Big Show against Gunther, it's the 2 big dudes. Same with Brock and Samoa Joe. You got like Austin and The Rock, who could be, big headliners against Gunther. You got Bryan and Jericho, who are more like the underdog side of things. And you got Piper, who's just like, a madman. Jericho gets taken out by Bryan. Big Show gets eliminated by a team of Brock and Samoa Joe, realizing that they could work together to take him out. Piper is taken out by The Rock after a low blow, because I'm having heel Rock be here where it's like, okay, well, he's babyface heading into this, but he's becoming a heel during the Royal Rumble. And you're like, all right, this guy's kind of an ass. He took out his family member. He's low blowing Roddy Piper. What's going on there? Brock Lesnar's taken out by Samoa Joe, ultimately. And the final 4, Bryan, Samoa Joe, Stone Cold, and The Rock. Stone Cold is eliminated by... Samoa Joe is eliminated by Stone Cold with a stunner and a clothesline. Austin is taken out by The Rock, and The Rock is taken out by Daniel Bryan, who wins. And we're getting Daniel Bryan versus Gunther at Mania. Now, I did write up some other options for what my Mania card would be. and I'm going to show that up on the screen now along with everything else like that. I've got a Money Talks 8-man tag match where it's Ted DiBiase, Jerry the King Lawler, The Miz, and the Repo Man against people who can't be bought. Dusty Rhodes, Pat McAfee, Tatanka, and Darren Young. So it's basically the heels against the smiley baby faces and all. Ted DiBiase wins that for his group. We got a tag team match between No Way Jose and Scotty 2 Hotty that are either known as the Hot Steps or the Boogie Knights against the team of Fabulous Finesse, Gigolo, Jimmy Del Rey, and Rico. Just like a stupid thing that I was like, kind of like that. Greg the Hammer Valentine and Bob Holly there's two different names I was thinking for those two, for a Hardcore Holly and a Greg the Hammer Valentine. You could either be Hammer and Hardcore, H&H, or you could be Blunt Force. They are up against either the team of Primetime Perfection or Brash and Flash of Austin Theory and Kenny Dykstra. Thought about doing Kenny Dykstra, Austin Theory, The Miz, like a 6-man kind of scenario. Ended up bouncing a lot of ideas around. Bulldog and Owen are the tag team champions from that other thing. So they are up against Andrade and Damian Priest as a tag team. And I had a bunch of tag team names for them. I had the Shadow Kings. I had Idols of Infamy, El Idolo Oscuro, Penance and Prestige. Go with any of those. There's a 6-pack challenge for the mid-card national championship, whatever. It's a ladder match. I like the idea about ladder matches at WrestleMania. Diamond Dallas Page, Jey Uso, Jinder Mahal, Ludwig Kaiser, Sami Zayn, and Wade Barrett. So it's kind of almost like a continental, like, maybe call it like the Continental Shift or something like that. Lots of people from different areas all competing for that national championship. A Last Rites Buried Alive match between The Undertaker and Karrion Kross. Basically kind of lead to Kross beats Mankind, and then he starts a feud with Undertaker. I've got a Last Man Standing match between Mankind and Kevin Owens that we would eventually get around to, because Owens would turn heel after the loss of the tag team title match. Got my typical big man buffet. This one's a 4-way, so it's called a Feastal 4-way. God
damn it.
Big Show, Keith Lee, Yokozuna, and Psycho Sid. Cruiserweight title match, Neville against Kofi Kingston. Jericho and Roddy Piper singles match. A number 1 contenders match between The Rock and Stone Cold. A submission or TKO match between Brock and Smoke Joe. And then, of course, Daniel Bryan going on to beat Gunther for the title at Mania.
Yeah, I mean,
2 cards in one.
Solid stuff all the way around. You know, we always love Daniel Bryan Gunther here. And I'd watch a lot of that.
I had about 12 other ideas, and then ended up just settling on this one because I was like, all right, well, I can't just do every variation. But I basically had Gunther as, okay, he's most likely going to be my champion from the start. And then it became, do I do Undertaker Gunther? Do I do Bryan Gunther? Samoa Joe Gunther, Brock Gunther, Owens Gunther, Mankind Gunther, Stone Cold Gunther, Jericho Gunther, Piper Gunther, Rock Gunther. I was just like, man, there's so many options. The hell do I pick? And then I had to just kind of work backward. And I think the first thing that I did past just putting Gunther as champion was tag up Owen and Bulldog and just be like, all right, that's tag team. You can't go wrong with those two as a tag team. And then it started just kind of bounce around from there. But I'm sure if I looked at this card again now, after a few weeks, I could book almost a completely different setup.
I mean, I like the star power. I like the double Ted DiBiase appearances. I mean, the one thing I would change with that is I'd have Bryan eliminate him twice.
I thought about doing that too. And then I thought it was a little too obvious. And then I would be like, crap, I really would at that point want Daniel Bryan versus Ted DiBiase at Mania.
Well, I would have done that as like for the show in between Royal Rumble and Mania, and have just DiBiase versus Bryan, and like DiBiase like is incensed by it, and he manages to convince Bryan to put his title shot on the line against him.
I can see
at,
that.
Whether that you want to be the mid show, whether it's the Elimination Chamber or whatever you want to call it, and Bryan wins that as well, just to give him a little bit of a mini feud between that and the match at WrestleMania. But yeah, I like all the options there. I think like ending it with, I think it's quite interesting that like both of you went with like Daniel Bryan and Jeff Hardy winning it. So you two actually went with the kind of smarkier choices as your Royal Rumble winners, where I just went John Cena,
Right.
and so but yeah, the flow of the Rumble. I think it's quite interesting that you have Sid Justice in the Rumble, but Psycho Sid in your WrestleMania card.
Oh yeah, I did type it out like that. That's weird.
So maybe he just changes gimmick, like every now and again.
He gets hangry.
Sometimes he's babyface and it's Sid Justice. Sometimes he's a little Sid Vicious. Sometimes he gets a little too vicious and he's Psycho Sid. There you go.
The hangrier he gets, the more he's Psycho Sid. He wins the Feastal 4-Way and he's a nice guy again.
Yeah. Big
And,
Man
yeah,
Buffet, Feastal 4-Way.
He wins the Feastal away and then becomes the Millennium Man for his next run to the next show. Outside of the Rumble, which is like well put together, like my favorite match is probably the Heart Foundation versus El Generic KO. I think that would just be a lot of fun to see. But yeah, overall, really well put together.
Yeah, I thought that was a lot of fun. A lot of different flavors in our cards, but I think that's the best part of doing all these.
So, of course, everybody let us know what you think about these cards. Let us know what you would do in those scenarios. If I end up getting some inspiration, maybe I'll do a little redo thing or a little bonus episode or something. I don't know. But, Royal Rumble's still kind of in our perspectives right now, even though they are immediately moving on to the Elimination Chamber. But we got some ideas in the mix, so we still have to talk about the Royal Rumble predictions contest. We'll break that down on the hot tags this week, and I'll also give these guys an opportunity to talk about everything else Royal Rumble related now that like the dust has settled a little bit from that. We'll talk a little bit about Elimination Chamber. We'll run down all that stuff, and if you want us to do something about the Royal Rumble continuing, do a women's Royal Rumble thing, or maybe do something based off Elimination Chamber, because we could always fantasy book an Elimination Chamber too. That'd be kind of fun. Keep that in mind. Let us know. Best way to make sure that we do something like that, though, is to do the Pick Your Poison tier on Patreon or on YouTube, and show your support all over the front and back, the side, left and right, everywhere that you can find everything on amangotree.com. And, of course, follow me at Tony Mango in the mix there, and follow Robin Callum on their things.
I was just looking. We have done an Elimination Chamber in the past, and we can do it again.
We did a fantasy chamber? Oh, yeah. Not even that long ago. That was we did King of the Ring before this, and we did Chamber before that. Oh, wow. Okay. I don't remember that. I don't remember what the hell I did either.
So you can follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. Check out my work on Fightful.com. And yeah, let us know if you want to see more of this, because I'm always down for more fantasy booking.
You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Wigmeister14. Check out the Power Rankings every Saturday on smarkandmoment.com to see how I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week performances. I can spoil that Jey Uso and Charlotte Flair will be pretty high up on this week's Power Rankings. But and you can also check out the Fantasy League, which we'll discuss in a bit more detail on the hot tags when we can talk a bit more about how our rosters have shaped out a little bit and what change we're making based on the predictions, which are a little bit up in the air based on pretty much all of us having the same thing and none of us getting the men's Royal Rumble winner correct. So have a bit of a powwow about that, and we'll be back with you to give you like the final confirmation about that on the hot tags on Friday. But you can follow along to see how the scores are currently shaping out at wfantasyleague.com or through the Smark Moment website.
Okie dokie, everybody. You know the score. Hit that like button, leave those comments, and stay tuned for what's happening next. And we will see you then. But for now, this has been another Smark Out moment. And we're being counted out.